Hello and welcome to Cinema Reels, the gambling movie podcast where we talk about which movies are a hot crap streak and what is the cinematic equivalent of Snake Eyes. I'm Jessica Welman, film fanatic and editor of SBC Americas, joined by commercial director for SBC Media, John Cook, and media editor, and I'm going to call you a Flintstones fanatic, James Ross, because you explain why you are responsible for me using the word gazoo today more than I've ever used in my entire life.
Yabba-dabba-doo! I love the Flintstones.
Oh, Lord.
I've never met, everyone's watched the Flintstones. I kind of liked the Flintstones. In the US, Flintstones vitamins were a big thing, but I've never met anyone who was just like, what was a great cartoon, the Flintstones. So explain your love for the Flintstones for me.
It came from my dad, to be honest. He used to watch a lot of old cartoons like the Looney Tunes and the Flintstones. So every morning he'd be watching them. So when I'm getting ready for school, I'd just sit there and watch it. And I really loved the first film of the Flintstones in 1994 with John Goodman. And that was one of my childhood films that me and my brother used to watch quite a lot.
Fun fact, even John Goodman didn't like the Flintstones. And the reason that the movie we're discussing today is a prequel is because he refused to participate. All right, if you haven't figured it out, today we are talking about the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Before we dive into this cinematic masterpiece, opening question, who is your favorite Flintstone? James, since you are the connoisseur, of this, we'll let you go first.
Dino. Has to be Dino. He's
Why
such
the
a
dog? Or the dino dog?
He's such a menace, and he just brings a lot of fun and frantic behavior every time he's on the screen, certainly with Fred. I think their dynamic is it's I know his dog dynamic, but I think it's just brilliant on the screen. It just makes me laugh each time. And when Dino was in the film, because I think he appeared halfway through, It made my day.
That's what was wrong with this movie. Not enough Dino. Yeah. John, do you have a favorite Flintstones character?
Really annoyingly, mine is also Dino.
Yeah.
And look, there is nothing to love about any of the Flintstones. And I've been sitting here seething by the fact that James said old cartoons. I remember the Looney Tunes when they were first around. That's a little bit harsh. But yeah, Dino is the only redeeming feature of the Flintstones at all. I wish I wasn't involved in this, to be entirely honest, because I despise the Flintstones, and I appreciate this is audio, but anyone who's looking at my face will see a very distinct
snarl, I would say.
Yeah, disgust, snarl, disgust, anger.
Okay, well, then we do run the gamut here. I will tell you, I'm pretty indifferent on the Flintstones. There was a Saturday morning cartoon when I was a kid called The Flintstones Kids, in which they were toddler versions. Imagine Rugrats meets the Flintstones, where it's baby Fred and baby Wilma and so on, and they get into antics. And I remember liking that enough, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it. My favorite Flintstone, mostly because I was a small redhead with a giant, unruly head of hair, obviously has to be Pebbles. Oftentimes, if I get my ponytail too high, my sister will be like, "Hey, Pebbles, what you doing over there?" So I relate to little Pebbles, and that's why she's my favorite. But again, because it's a prequel, Pebbles is not in this movie, which is my big complaint. And I think we have a long list of complaints, so let's just dive right in.
I have a question. Am I wrong in thinking that it was Pebbles and Bam Bam?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, I'm not going mad.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. Anyway.
Quick aside, in doing research for the quiz and stuff, do you know that Bam Bam is spelled with 2 M's in each word? B-A-M-M?
That makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Bam is spelled B-A-M.
Bam.
Then it goes
bam,
bam, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. Bam.
Okay, fine.
There you go.
This is perhaps the most useless spoiler alert I've ever given in my entire life, but if you you want to preserve the filmic integrity of the Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas and have not seen the movie, now is the time to turn it off and come visit us when you want to really just dive into everything that happens and the plot and whatnot. So, now that that's out of the way, quick little brief on this. The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas is the 2000 prequel to the 1993 live-action Flintstone that asked the question none of us ever needed to know: how did Fred, Wilma, Barney, and Betty meet? The first half of the movie tackles the romantic entanglements of the two couples as observed by the Great Gazoo, while the second half of the film ships them off to the bedrock version of Las Vegas, complete with the molten nugget and the Sahara. Nominated for 4 Razzie Awards and a legitimate box office bomb, this film is undeniably stupid. But is it stupid in the best way possible, guys? That sharp inhale from John tells me he has thoughts. So let's just dive right in. John, your overall thoughts of this movie.
The spoiler alert is definitely not needed, because all I would actually say is don't bother. Don't switch it on. There's nothing to spoil.
That's a little
But this is where I'll
harsh.
say, in lieu of watching the movie, just listen to us talking about it. That way we don't lose our entire audience.
That's true. That's true. But seriously, it's pain.
Okay, be a little more specific. What's wrong with it?
What's right with it?
Did you go onto this film hating it before you even started it, or is it generally a pure hatred of the film?
Did you give it a fair shake?
I think I gave it a fair shake. I mean,
The fact you said you think, I don't think you did.
I never liked the Flintstones when I was a kid, right? And
Okay.
I do remember watching the first Flintstones movie, and I'm a huge Goodman fan, and actually it was okay. But it was like watching Goodman and Pesci, right? It wasn't like watching Fred and Barney. Was it Pesci?
It was Rick Moranis.
Moranis,
Which,
that was it.
someone never mistaken for Joe Pesci in his life. What's that guy? Kind of like Joe Pesci, the one from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Little Shop of Horrors.
No. I know. You can rip me if you like. But look, I think it was just I gave it a fair chance. I fell asleep too many times. I couldn't get past it. There were great bits in it. The fact that they move into, it's kind of like a mine, right, that they work in, and they're trying to pass their exams and all of that.
Rock
It's
quarry.
a quarry. I like the fact that they have sort of a healthcare program for the dinos that are working in there, and that was quite amusing, where you just basically just see Barney just get farted on, which is that an appropriate one for our American audience as well? Probably is.
No.
That's kind of an amusing piece, but other than that, I can't really say it was that exciting. The Great Gazoo, what's that about? Who even came up with that concept? It's just absolutely pointless.
I will say my very first note says, we're opening this film with the Great Gazoo? Really? Like, it's a choice to center your entire narrative around the little green alien guy. James, you're the one who thought this would be fun. What did you think of the movie?
I found it fun. Complete contrast to John. I went into it kind of differently to how I went into Casino and Win It All. I was a bit more. I analysed the other two films a bit more. So actually, when I went into the Flintstones, I just went in with a bit more fun, and I actually had really low expectations of this film. For being a big fan, I actually didn't know there was a sequel to the 1994 one, and then when I watched the trailer, and it was something Addy, Mark Addy, that's the one. I wasn't vibing it because I like John Goodman so much as Fred Flintstone. I thought, I can't get over that. It's something that I think would have hindered me as much, and I'm not even going to mention his name, Stephen Baldwin. I'm not a big fan of the Baldwins. So when I saw his face, I was just like, I can't do it. But I really
that
loved the
haircut.
yeah. But I actually, so I watched it on the plane to SPC Summit North America, and I was smiling when watching it, and I don't really like watching films on my phone on a plane. But I really liked it, bar Stephen Baldwin and The Great Gazoo.
I am embarrassed at how much
Yes.
I enjoyed this movie.
You can't.
I finished it and I was just like, okay, maybe you can watch it again and you'll get more judgmental about it because you know that you have to go tell like the public that you found this movie reasonably enjoyable. There were 2 moments in this movie where I legit cackled out loud. I thought it was so funny. Here's where I'm landing on this. The people that are involved in this movie deserve 10 million times better, right? Like, Jane Krakowski is a delightful actress. Kristen Johnston's an amazing actress. Alan Cumming, I want to say can do no wrong, but after this can indeed do wrong. And then I've been a fan of Mark Addy ever since he was in Full Monty back in the 90s. So I think because I just find these people charming and talented and I see that they're doing their best with what they've got, I gave it a little more of a positive sentiment because I'm just like, well, I do enjoy these performers even though what they're doing is pretty stupid.
Sure. I kind of agree with you. But you've got to bear in mind this is 23 years ago, right? And 23 years ago, the majority of these people were TV actors. And poor TV actors. Maybe the lady, I've forgotten her name, the one that was in Ally McBeal. Maybe she was actually in Ally McBeal at that time, but the others were pretty much poor TV actors, and the Baldwin brother had only just been in an advert for M&M's. That was it.
He was in Bio.
He should have stayed in that advert, to be honest.
I do remember Bio. This was also, so Kristen Johnston, I don't know how much this one made it across the pond. Third Rock from the Sun was a very popular...
Third Rock from the Sun is amazing.
A very popular show and a very well-reviewed show. So this was during the time that show was either running or she was fresh off the run in that, you know, the women arguably were more famous and well-known than the men.
Was Third Rock from the Sun that far back?
Yeah, it was the 90s.
Oh, wow.
I was in high school for
I
sure.
used to love Third Rock from the Sun, and I still do, actually, when there's reruns.
I have absolutely no idea what you're going on about.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a great
absolutely
show.
Amazing.
John
You've got to watch it.
Lithgow, French Stewart, Kristen Johnston, and a baby, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, are aliens sent to Earth, and they're just kind of barely getting by with this, you know, cover story that they're humans.
It sounds like My Parents Are Aliens or something like that.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, you know, and we can add this to her aliens sent to Earth trying to learn things oeuvre, because that's, you know, how they get Gazoo in, is he gets sent to watch them, you know, fall in love and whatnot. So I feel like we need to talk about the first half of this movie a little bit, just because it's half the movie. Like, they don't get to Vegas right away. So this whole, like, how did they meet? How did they fall in love? Any major thoughts from this?
It's kind of cute. It's kitsch, right? You've got to think about it in this way. You've got 4 actors who have come into a movie where it's so well known from a cartoon that they kind of are already molded in terms of how they can play the characters, right? You can't really play Barney any different. You can't really play Fred any different. You can't play Wilma any different. You can't play Betty any different. So they've done a good job as actors to portray those characters. Whether you believe they're those characters is another thing. I think the overall premise of the story is a little bit too serious for it being a kids' movie.
I was going to point that out.
In terms of, there are a lot of things in there that are kind of adult topics that realistically children are not going to really understand. And if you think about children's movies normally, the adult elements are the in-jokes for the family. So there's the stupidness, and then there's either some form of sexual innuendo, or there's some form of just adult commentary that is an in-joke. A lot of the themes through this movie are so integral to the storyline that the kids might not get it. But there's enough silliness in there for it to happen, right? So,
considering the first 20 minutes is based on Fred and Barney trying to mate, in the words of the great Kazoo, they're trying to have sex for the first 20 minutes.
Well, that's the whole thing for the first sort of 5 minutes. It's basically the Great Kazoo getting his brief that he's got to go down to Earth to find out the mating rituals of these humans. And then you're just presented a mating ritual of the... I don't know, is he the great...
It's a courtship ritual more than...
Yeah, it's the courtship ritual, right? But then the procreation... Well, it's not procreation. Well, yeah, I suppose it is. The procreation of the aliens is basically they subdivide themselves. Yeah. And you see that in, the kids ain't going to get that, and that's in the first 2 minutes of the movie, right? Actually, there is one thing that made me absolutely cry with laughter at the very start of the movie. I'm not sure which one of them said it. I think it might be Alan Cummings. He just turns around and goes, "Did you see those massive letters just going around the Earth?" Because it was the Universal thing where the Universal sign, and then he turns around and goes, "Did you see those huge letters just going around there?" That was the only thing that really made me laugh, other than the fart.
Well, so you were talking about kind of like adult jokes. This is the first thing that made me die laughing was Barney and Fred think that Gazoo is a genie. And Barney's like, "Oh, you get to grant us wishes, right?" And Fred responds, "Let's get this started. What do we have to rub?" And I was like, that's pretty funny. Speaking of the adult innuendo in this movie. So that one was good. But yeah, it did, as the connoisseur, James, is Wilma rich in the cartoon too? I don't remember Wilma being like from money.
I think it's hinted at early on, but I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
I think if you look at the way that she dresses in the cartoons,
the pearls alone,
the pearls are a big indication that she comes from money, because there is no way that Fred would have earned that. Because if you look at Fred's clothes, they typically have holes in it, like tiny little holes. Where is it leopard that he normally wears? Something like that with spots on the front, right?
Yeah.
Some of those are holes if you look at it in some of the cartoons, and then Barney and Wilma next. The thing I don't get in terms of this versus the cartoon is you kind of get the feeling that Barney and Fred and Betty and Wilma were only best friends because they lived next door to each other in the cartoon, where here it just adds more context. So I suppose there is something that it does add value to the Flintstones history, I suppose. The lore of the Flintstones.
I'm sitting here going, I have 2 film degrees, and we're sitting here discussing the class politics of the Flintstones cartoon.
I said the same thing. I've got an undergrad in film and media studies, and this is what it's used for.
Yeah, it's a little bit depressing. But if we look at, you asked us about the story, right? And to cover the story, it is pretty much rich girl gets sick of her life, goes to try and find a different side of the world, someone to play with, someone to have fun, right? And then she just gets interwoven into normality and learns a lot of things. It's kind of an interesting story. It's also what Disney uses in Aladdin, right? Where the princess wants to get out of the castle.
Yeah, John, I feel like we're going to have another casino U-turn here from you.
No, not at all.
You've come into this quite negative, and as we're going on, I feel like your opinion of this is changing to be a bit more positive.
No. It's like a classic Dickens trope of rich meets poor, really, when you think about it.
No, I'm trying to make this exciting for not only the audience but actually for myself, because it was hell. It was particularly hell.
I will say, the story is very, blasé. And the way they get to Vegas is that Wilma's ex-boyfriend, Chip Rockefeller, played by Thomas Gibson, who I'm sure, 23 years removed, feels like a real random guy. But at this point, Dharma and Greg was a very popular sitcom in the U.S. And he was he was Greg in Dharma and Greg. So that is another TV guy doing his TV thing. Plays Chip and invites them to his newly opened casino, which brings us to Rock Vegas, where they go and he tries to essentially get Fred so in the red gambling that he's forced to in order to make it square with Chip, give up Wilma.
Yeah. I get, like, when you move into the Vegas scenario, there are a lot of just missing plot lines in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you get to the point where the supposed Flintstones mob turns up and puts the thumb screws on. Look, I hate this film so much I'm forgetting the characters' names.
Chip.
There you go. Put the thumb screws on Chip. How did that come about? We don't know anything about his financial troubles before then. It's just another missed story, and it's kind of pointless. And how are kids going to watch this and turn around and go, "Oh yeah, Daddy's gone to a casino and done that"? Because kids don't. I don't think it is a responsible topic to have in a kids' film. If I'm entirely honest, I'm just going very parental on this.
I think even though the Flintstones are for kids, and we've already mentioned it's kind of not responsible. Don't forget, this cartoon also came out in the 1960s.
Yeah,
so
very
there is
true.
that obligation to satisfy the people who grew up with it. It's kind of the Star Wars situation where people felt so gatekept to the old original ones that they hate the newer ones that came out.
Mm.
There needs to be a nice balance between. I think they've gone a bit too heavy with the adult allegiance in this film, but I think it does need to be taken into consideration that these films, though children, is for adults.
I mean, yeah, you look at like some of the references, like the mob showing up kind of feels like Casino, right? There's a bit of a casino reference in there. You have the point where Barney and Fred kind of dress up as showgirls to evade getting caught after they're framed for stealing Wilma's pearls, and that's very Some Like It Hot. There's a lot of very kind of old movie references in here for people. I mean, I guess for parents, but yeah, I would imagine kids have no clue what these references are to, and they're just like, oh, men dressed up as showgirls. That's really funny.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was played like, maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But I think perhaps the sort of the cross genre of an adult film with a kids film in this scenario, and I'm not talking about adult in terms of adult, but sort of a more serious film in comparison to a kids film, is a little bit of a cry for help from the director to a certain extent, a cry for help in his career. Because if you look at Brian Levant's career, he came from the highs of being a writer on Mork and Mindy, which is just one of the most epic television series ever to have graced the screen.
Nanu.
Exactly. And that is where Gazoo should have come from. It's just one of the most epic things ever to have graced the television screen.
I don't know if anyone has spoken more highly of Mork and Mindy in my life, man. By the way. I like Mork and Mindy, don't get me wrong, but you're just like screw The Sopranos. The best television show to ever grace the screen is Mork and Mindy.
100%.
I do enjoy Mork and Mindy.
I mean, that was Robin Williams at sort of the real sort of start of his career, where he was really getting some momentum behind him, including a huge amount of drugs, but pushing through. But it was just a fantastic TV series. And then the director moves on for a directorial debut of Problem Child 2, then going
watched
to
that flick a lot as a child, for what it is worth.
Then going to Beethoven, that was
don't knock Beethoven,
absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
Then going to the Flintstones, and then from the Flintstones onwards, it's kind of a load of crap. You might be able to get away with it by saying Snow Dogs was okay, and maybe Jingle All the Way, but the rest of it is just a load of rubbish. And anyone who's ever involved in Scooby-Doo should be shot.
As in the film Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
I was like,
come on.
Wait, the live action? You're defending the live action Scooby-Doo movies? Oh, we know who the young one is on this podcast.
Yeah, the one Freddie Prinze Jr. is Fred. Fantastic film.
Thing I've never said to myself. You know who's really funny and charming? Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
I like Freddie Prinze Jr.
I like him too, but he's just, it's like an attractive piece of balsa wood. It's not like he's like particularly charming.
Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Island, Escape from Monsters Island is fantastic. That is childhood films for me.
Okay, we got to change the subject before I lose my mind.
Let's just get back to the Flintstones.
Let's get back on track. Let's talk about performances. Let's start with who's the worst performance in this movie. I will note that Joan Collins and Stephen Baldwin both earned Razzie nominations for this film.
I'll go first because I think John's going to go for everyone.
Nope.
But I'm still going to go first. I'm going to say Stephen Baldwin as Barney. Wasn't a fan of him. His smile, I know it sounds like a really harsh thing to say, but every time he smiled on screen, I just wanted him to get hit by a club. And Alan Cumming, I'm going to say. I wasn't a big fan of him anyway. The last thing I watched him in was the US Traitors. Don't know if you've seen that. He's the host in it.
I want to be on the Traitors.
I love the Traitors, and the UK version was great. Claudia Winkleman did it. She was fantastic. Alan Cummings was awful, but he also played Mick Jagger as well. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah. This whole Rolling Stones plot that didn't need to be there was very strange, too.
I didn't mind it at first. I thought it was a good kind of parody / satire of Mick Jagger. 5 minutes afterwards, I was just like, this is boring and tedious.
I think they just needed something for Betty to do, or else she'd fall off the face
Otherwise,
of the
she
earth.
was just not doing anything in the film.
They are mad too.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got one person who I think is the worst person in this whole film, other than Joan Collins, who I just think is awful in everything. And I'm sure she speaks very highly of me. Harvey Korman.
Okay.
So Harvey Korman is the Colonel Slaghoople.
That's Wilma's dad for everyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, that is Wilma's dad. Seriously, for someone who is meant to have Alzheimer's, he just looks like he's been drunk for a long, long time. I nearly swore then. He's just appalling. But interesting fact, he was the voice of Gazoo in the cartoon.
He was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly say, agreed, Stephen Baldwin, least favorite. My favorite performance in this movie was Harvey Korman. I think the fact that this dad was just completely MIA, Looney Tunes, off the planet. At one point, he has that, you know those toys where you try to get the ball in the cup that's on the string?
Yeah.
Where he's just like, they're at dinner, and you can tell that they just have given him this toy to amuse himself so he doesn't bother anybody. Like, these little moments with him, I'm like, it's stupid, but like the kind of stupid that I just love.
Yeah, I think that's unnecessary background business. If you're going to give someone business to doing something, it's got to be worthwhile. And that's unnecessary background business. That's kind of the crap that you do on stage.
Okay, any performances you liked in this movie?
Dino
was in like one scene, James.
Stole the show.
I did like that Dino is the equivalent of like a carnival goldfish that they expect to die in like 48 hours.
That is cool.
I was like, that was funny.
No, seriously, Mark Addy as Fred Flintstone for me. I said at the start that I couldn't see anyone else but John Goodman playing him in a live action film. And the fact at the end of the film, I actually really liked Fred Flintstone and the portrayal, and he kind of brought it to life. That, to me, personally, I think that deserves a shout out for one of the best performances.
I'd agree he was good, but I spent the whole film waiting for him to do a scene change and a costume change into a policeman's outfit because of Full Monty. That's what I was expecting to see.
And get killed by a boar from Game of Thrones.
Or exactly. Or walk around the corner
spoiler
in some
alert,
form
Game of
of armor.
Thrones, sorry.
I think that's what that was earlier.
Seriously, no one has not watched Game of Thrones by now.
Also, if you're the audience that is tuned in for this, I don't expect that you're going to be like angry that we ruined Game of Thrones for you, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be the highest audience figures we're going to have for this one, but it was
Beg to differ.
Yeah, it was okay.
John's so upset. Again, I just like, is it stupid? Yes. I can't defend that it's not. But like, I enjoyed that, Barney and Mick Jagger get in like a girly slap fight over Betty. I was like, that's delightful. Like, it's funny. Joan Collins doing a spit take is amusing. The other part where I laughed hysterically is Chip has set up Fred and framed him to look like he's stolen Wilma's pearls. And he asks everyone if they have something to confess. And people start confessing like, oh, I stole the bathrobes and these little things. And then he's like, no, that's fine. No, we're talking about big things. And then that guy says, I'm systematically poisoning the dinosaur's water supply. And he can't like talk his way out of it. But then like no one cares. That I found hysterical too. So those are my props on like it's stupid, but as someone who loves camp, I kind of love stupid. I will say, like, can we all agree, though, the production design of this is pretty delightful? I think the production designers probably had a field day.
It's cute, right? It's really cute.
I like the fact they stuck with how they did it in 1994. They kind of stuck with that, but then integrating the CGI as well. I feel like they kind of paid homage a bit to the cartoons. They didn't go too realistic with the animals. They tried to keep it a bit more fun. Not animals, dinosaurs, sorry. Tried to keep it a bit more cartoonish with the CGI. That's what I like that.
I felt the sets were slightly more cartoonish as well. So like the diner and everything, the actual set design was quite cartoon. It wasn't too natural. It did kind of look a little bit false. The pool area in the Vegas scene was like massively, you could tell that was made out of polystyrene and balsa wood. But it was cool. I liked it.
But, like, that's Vegas, though, right? Is that everything in Vegas feels a little bit false.
Yeah, well, it used to. Now Vegas is gone. It's now this entertainment hub, isn't it? Rather than a real Vegas of old.
You make me smile and laugh so much, John. You bring so much cheer to my life.
This film has just angered me. I want to watch a film that I genuinely want to watch a film that we can just all just sing the praises of.
But what fun would that be?
Yeah, true, but like you guys, some of you didn't like Casino. I've even forgotten the one that we did before. It's that bad.
Which you briefly debated might be better than Casino, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
So don't tell me like Casino was some amazing one. Okay. Let's get things back on track. You don't have to care if the movie's good or bad. Is there a character in this movie you would back as a gambler?
Dino.
Is your answer to everything going to be Dino?
Dino.
Who had the most impressive character arc? Dino. I mean, he hatched out of an egg. He completely changed, didn't he?
Do you know, I wouldn't back Colonel Slaghoople because he doesn't know what he's doing 99% of the time.
Do we think Fred is good at gambling, or this was just the boom and doom switch?
No, because
that was boom and doom.
Yeah, Rockefeller was skewing the odds.
I did like that so for those who don't follow gambling, like, it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing you say that the casino turned on the boom switch when you're running really well, or the doom switch when you're running really bad. And in this movie, Chip literally has like a boom and doom switch on the wall that he turns on to kind of activate Fred going on a big losing streak.
Yeah. Going back to backing a gambler, has to be the Great Gazoo, no? He's the most intelligent one there.
I would back Chip because he's got that switch on the wall, right? He's also in a hell of a lot of debt, and mobsters are after him. So he doesn't make good choices.
But that's through real estate, right?
Yeah, that's mummy and daddy money, that, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe it's like Casino, where he's just the clean front for the mob.
I would lay my money on Wilma.
She does seem like she would. I feel like Betty would probably kill at like a.
She's an airhead. Come on.
That's true. She didn't realize that Wilma wasn't homeless. That she was just a rich girl who had nowhere to go. So you're right. Okay, fair.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely back Wilma because I think she has got this riches to rags understanding, and she understands what wealth is, and she understands how to get there. And I think she just genuinely has her head screwed on so could make sound decisions. It's quite a knee-jerk decision to just up sticks and go down somewhere without anything. It was quite a sudden decision, right? But I think she did that for a rationale that she was hating life in the rich world and wanted to understand what it was in the real world. So I think she would make sound decisions at a gambling table. But is stepping up to a table a sound decision in the first place?
She probably is smart enough to not lose her money gambling.
Yeah. She's probably going to go to see the show, right?
Yeah, hang out at the spa with the Rosie O'Donnell octopus. The original Betty.
Seriously, did I even... I was just about to say, did I even watch this film? You just confused me immensely then.
So when Betty and Wilma are getting massaged by the octopus...
Yeah,
poolside,
I didn't watch this film then.
The voice of that was Rosie O'Donnell, the original Betty.
Ah, nice.
And then Anne Margrock, played by Anne Margaret in the original film, did sing Viva Rock Vegas in the sequel. Prequel.
I hated that scene, I must admit.
Yeah.
You hated the song?
Yeah, that song and scene at the end.
Oh,
The
I
whole
love
thing
a
of
good
it.
dance number.
I don't mind the dance number, but that one was just,
Unnecessary.
Yeah. It's just like they kind of levitate into the air and just leave Betty and Wilma behind them. It's just, I don't get it.
Do you reckon they were trying to, a certain extent, just emulate Grease? Because that was
I think
very
they were trying
Grease.
to emulate Viva Las Vegas, the
Do you
Elvis
think?
movie.
Okay. I haven't watched it in a long while.
Well, that might change after the quiz. But before that, we gotta do Best in the Clubhouse. Last week, after much debate, we decided that Casino was better than Win It All. Is the Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas better than Casino? I'm going to start with John again on this one because I can't wait for him to be like, actually, let me mull it over. I'm really not sure.
So, for a moralistic standpoint,
Moralistic standpoint. Okay.
in terms of like the adult messaging in there and for educating children, absolutely not. It's dreadful. It's awful. As I started off, my last words on this before the quiz will be exactly the same as it was at the start. I would much rather be beaten over the head with a club to death. In fact, I'd rather have my eyes gouged out with a spoon than watch this movie again or actually talk much more about it. It's that bad.
Why a spoon, cousin? 'Cause it's dull. It'll hurt more, you twit. Who
There
knows
you
that
go.
movie?
Yeah. There you go.
James, how do you feel? Better or worse than Casino?
Before I say that, can I just say a little bit of a fun fact which relates to gambling? Because, Jess, you normally do a fun little gambling fact.
Yeah,
know there's not a
I
lot
kind of
in
skipped over the gambling fact
No,
check because I have
it's
nothing
fine.
to add.
I've got something that might work.
Okay, but take the floor, my man.
One of the episodes is called, of the cartoon of the Flintstones, is called The Gambler. Can't remember which season it is or which episode it is, but it's about Fred and he's got an addiction to gambling. And he makes a bet with a young child. Can't remember what
With
the
a
bet is. I think
kid?
it's to do, I think it's to do with marbles or something. And he gets addicted again and kind of gets flashback to when he had the addiction. And Wilma kind of makes him see a psychiatrist, I think. But yeah, Fred Flintstone actually has a gambling problem.
Yeah, I mean, in this movie, it seemed like he had a gambling problem too.
So do you think that the movie took inspiration from that episode?
It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to say it. Well, I don't know.
More to the point,
Is-
you are an absolute Flintstones geek, aren't
And
you?
I love
to
that he's
know-
like, I can't tell you what season or episode, whereas normally I could. Just at the drop of a hat tell you which Flintstones episode we're referencing.
I think it's the second season.
Okay,
But
good to know.
that's not the gospel from me. I might be wrong, but someone else can search it if they're listening.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Is Flintstones, in your mind, better or worse than Casino?
Sorry. Right. Let's actually review this. So, as a film, no, it's not better than Casino. Personally, did I enjoy it better than Casino when I was watching it? Yes, I did.
John's about to be so upset. I'm sorry.
Yes, dude.
But for the exact same reason, like for what it is, if you had to sit me down and ask me at gunpoint which one do I want to watch again, it's certainly not Casino.
Oh, I love this.
So yeah, I mean it was stupid, but it was like a fun, inoffensive kind of stupid. So I prefer it to Casino, which I think means that the Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas is the new leader in the clubhouse.
Yes! Oh, a moment's silence for John.
I know. John needs a breather. He may not agree to do future episodes. He's very upset right now. We need to screenshot this, and this can be just the thumbnail for this episode.
Oh, you two are dead to me.
Well, we'll see after this quiz if maybe we can get back on track with a film you actually enjoy watching. James, you won the last quiz with a tiebreaker. So, John, I'm going to give you the option. Would you like to answer first or second on this?
Second, always second.
Okay. All right. This film is filled with successful TV stars. Which of these actors won a Primetime Emmy at some point in their career? Alan Cumming, Kristen Johnston, Jane Krakowski, or Joan Collins?
I'm gonna go Joan Collins.
John?
I
love that you guys take the quiz so seriously. It's very rewarding.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's who I was going to go for. But I've kind of got to pick someone else, haven't I? Jane Krakowski.
You are both wrong. It is Kristen Johnston, who won this Emmy prior to doing this movie.
What was it for?
Third Rock from the Sun.
Of course.
Oh.
I'm still angry from the fact that the parodies like that.
When John loses, he's going to be like, I was on emotional tilt. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. Okay. I've mentioned before that Flintstones branded children's vitamins were and continue to be a big thing here in the U.S. They have been a mainstay on the U.S. market for over 40 years. However, it took a petition in 1995 for which character to get a vitamin in their image. Is it Bam Bam, Gazoo, Dino, or Betty? John?
I reckon it's Dino.
That's your answer?
Yeah, just because James's love for Dino kind of has that kind of passion.
I love that you're also just like, I'm just going to block him from getting to pick Dino since we know he's going to pick Dino.
That passion would genuinely turn to a petition, I think. I think someone
James,
with that kind of position.
Can you just repeat the question for me again, please?
Flintstones branded children's vitamins have been a mainstay on the U.S. market for over 40 years. However, it took a petition in 1995 before which character got a vitamin in their image.
And the options were Bam Bam,
Bam Bam,
Dino.
Gazoo, Dino, and Betty.
So it won't be Bam Bam because Bam Bam's a child, but saying Bam Bam's a baby. I'm actually gonna go Betty.
That is correct. There was no Betty vitamin.
Really?
There was a vitamin of the car, and they replaced the vitamin of the car with Betty.
Surely you would have the four main characters. That's
People
just
don't
idiocy.
like Betty, man. Like, we saw in this movie, they were like, well, we gotta give her this stupid Rolling Stones plot or else Betty has nothing to do. All right, okay. James, you answer first on this one, and you might be the expert here. There were 166 episodes of The Flintstones. Over under 15 episodes featuring the Great Gazoo.
Over or under 15 with the Great
15.
Gazoo?
More than 15 or less than 15 episodes with the Great Gazoo.
I feel like this is going to be the Mr. Bean situation where we think that he's in there loads, but actually it's not. Well, Mr. Bean had like one season, but for reference.
Mr. Bean only had one season?
I think so, yeah. It only had
That's just blown my mind.
It only had about 18 episodes or something like that. It had the animated cartoons as well. But sorry, back onto it. I think it's over, but I'm gonna say under because I feel like it might be a red flag there. I'm just going off my Mr. Bean theory, so I'm gonna say under.
Well, I want to go under as well. So can we pick numbers?
You're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I know, but can we pick numbers so that it actually just gets... All right.
No, we've played this game the first time.
There's a tiebreaker for a reason.
I'm going under.
You are correct. He was in 11 episodes.
See, and I was going to say 11 as well.
Oh, I'm sure you were. once you got over your hissy fit about the fact that we liked this movie better than Casino.
I'm still not over it. I think I need the weekend.
Okay, which of these titles was not the name of a Hanna-Barbera show? As we all know, Hanna-Barbera, the group behind the Flintstones. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A, Yankee Doodle Pigeon. B, Pumpkin Puss and Mushmouth. C, Inch High Private Eye. Or D, Goober and the Ghost Chasers. John.
B.
Pumpkin Puss and Mushmouth. All right, James, do you have a pick?
I don't know. We've got one more question after this, haven't we?
We do, and a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I'll go B.
Okay, you guys both picked B. You're both wrong. The answer is Yankee Doodle Pigeon, who is a character on a Hanna-Barbera show, but was not the name of the show.
That sounded so obvious as the name of a show.
Yeah, no, Pumpkin Puss and Mushmouth is indeed real. All right, this one is Price is Right rules. The Flintstones is set in the Stone Age. Price is Right rules. How many years does the Stone Age span? James.
I was trying not to swear there.
A reminder, James leads 2-1 at the moment.
I don't know. So I'm just going to say, 10,000 years. It's not going to be that, though.
10,000. John.
I feel like it's going to be a lot more than that.
Really?
Don't tell him.
10,001.
He's done it again.
It's going to be a tie because the answer is 2.5 million.
See, and...
I thought it was big.
An idiot.
I thought it was big, but I didn't...
How big?
There was one area that didn't last that long, though.
The Bronze Age, which is next after Stone, I think is a lot shorter. All right, we have moved on to the tiebreaker question, and guess who it's about, James?
Dino.
Yeah,
Is it Dino?
It's a Dino question. Dino was voiced by Mel Blanc, who is known as the man of 1,000 voices. His voice credits include Porky Pig, Foghorn Leghorn, Barney Rubble, Speedy Gonzales, and even the original Fruit Loops mascot, Toucan Sam. How many IMDb credits does Blanc have for his voice work?
Oh.
I'm getting good at these quizzes. I love how much I'm stumping you guys, or maybe they're too hard. This will be John going first.
Yeah, it's just taken me a long time to think.
Can I see both hands, please, as well? So I see you're not typing.
Do you think he's secretly Googling?
I think he's a secret Google.
The old left-handed stealth Google.
He's so spiteful about this episode, he'll do anything to win and not have us pick the next film.
200 and... No, that's too small. 456.
James?
You only need to go one way, up or down.
That's the issue.
Well, so I did not specify this is Price is Right rules. So you can go over, and if you're closer...
What did you say? 456.
56. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's a lot of voices.
But I feel like because this is a question, it's going to be quite big. I'm going to go 532.
James, you are our winner.
Yes!
Because he has 1,267 credits in IMDb for his voice work. You got to remember, like, they made like 90 million like Looney Tunes packages and things like that. So yeah, that means that you get to pick heads or tails. So tell me which film you want and what side it is.
So heads will go with Viva Rock Vegas because Elvis had a great set of hair. And tails will go Lock, Stock.
All right. It is flipping, and we are going to be watching Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking
Get
Barrels.
in.
I have not seen this movie, so this is going to be
You're in for a
new to me.
treat.
I am, and you guys will be in for a treat too. So be sure to tune in next time when we talk Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels on Cinema Reels.